What's good? God is good. I'm your host, Jay Did It. Welcome to Thursday Therapies, a podcast for all creatives, writers, rappers, poets, artists, activists, Sacramento community therapy session. Today, we have Marquise, a creative shaped by nomadic upbringing, having lived across California, Nevada, and New York, where travel, fashion, and presentation were both influenced by pressure. Once using fashion to fit in, he now embraces it as a bold form of self expression, blending experimentation with authenticity. His journey reflects a powerful shift from conformity to confidence, grounded in the belief that being true to yourself is the ultimate statement. Welcome to Thursday
Thank you for
Therapies.
having me. I appreciate
Yes,
this.
thank you so much. I'm so glad that we get to have you on here because I met you a while back last summer. Sometime we were at a fashion show,
Yeah, I remember that.
and I first you just caught my eye really right then and there because your style is so amazing,
I
and I was
appreciate
like,
that.
okay, let me go sit by him because I want to know what your story is. And just getting to know you by that
By that,
little
yeah,
time, and knowing you shared a little bit about you with me, and then I told you what I was doing about my podcast, and we exchanged information. And I'm just so glad that you reached out and we have you on here because your true authenticity is amazing.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. So, as you know, Thursday Therapies is a podcast for creatives, writers, rappers, poets, artists, bringing awareness to mental health. I want to ask you some questions, let the viewers know who Marquise is through your journey, and bring more awareness to mental health.
I think you kind of encapsulated all the things in general. I don't really even know what else I could say besides that, honestly. I think that kind of hits all of it in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, let me ask you some questions, and we'll just dig deeper and
yeah,
see who
yeah, for
you are.
sure.
Really,
Yeah,
let the people know who Marquise is.
sounds good.
So, how did moving around shape your identity?
I don't even. I've moved around so much that I don't even. I think this is my first time in a while being somewhere for more than maybe like 2 years.
Wow.
Um, I've had some stability in not moving around so much, but I my parents growing up, if it wasn't town to town or city to city, it was like house to house.
Yeah.
They never really had the ability to like be in the same place, but also I didn't really grow up in a household of stability anyways,
Mm.
and so there was never like a real consistency of location. So this is my first time I think in a while being somewhere. I think I've been here. I've been in Chico, and I've been there for maybe like 4 years, and that's the longest I've been somewhere consistently in
Wow.
the same like 5 mile square radius.
Wow. How does that make you feel?
It feels really good,
Yeah.
and um, I had a partner in the past, a girlfriend I was dating, and she wanted to move elsewhere after finishing college at Chico State, and we had broken up, and she had moved on
Mm.
after that. And one of the main things is as well with the relationship was that I told her like I'm tired of moving around. Like I
Right.
want to be here or stay somewhere specific and stop moving around like this. And that was a pretty hard thing to let go of. But also I had learned even from that and letting go of that that now I have autonomy to be somewhere, and
Mm.
I think I'm still kind of learning what it like how it feels to be somewhere, but also be somewhere long enough that you get ingrained in the community.
Yeah.
Because like now I'm running around, I'm meeting people like you and other people in the area in Sacramento and things around Chico in general, and it's been really interesting. But I think I've not been used to being somewhere long enough to establish roots in the first place and like meet
Mm.
people long term.
Mm. That's nice. What made you choose Chico?
Just the peace. I like
Nice.
Sacramento a lot. I would totally live here, but I really enjoy the peace of being somewhere more rural.
Yeah.
I think I've become more accustomed to that. I like going to Sacramento and other cities and such, but I also like being somewhere more centralized where I can go everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Chico's a nice place. I'm actually from Quincy, which is about an hour and a half away from Chico, and I've frequent down there, and I have family down there, so it is a nice
Yeah,
place.
that's a beautiful place too. I like that area.
Yeah. That's a lot slower than down here and down in Chico. It's really
Yeah,
small. It's nothing but mountains, rivers,
yeah, I get
ponds,
you.
a lot of hiking. So, what did home feel like growing up? Because you moved in so many different places.
My parents divorced when I was like 10.
Mm.
They weren't to oh man. Full transparency, when I was born, I was not by choice, like, created, I suppose. And I think that they got together because of that
Mm.
and tried to like make it work.
Mm.
But in my opinion, from my upbringing, it never really worked the whole time they were together. and they really struggled to separate and to build their own independence even when they separated.
Mm.
Even as like I think they divorced when I was 12. I'm 27 now, and I still get calls from my mom sometimes, and she'll be like, "What's your dad up to?"
Oh,
And
wow.
it's just like, I don't know, but like, why do you want to know what this person got? I mean, I get it, you raised a kid together, but like that's the thing. And then like my father moved on to a different person,
Mm,
but that like was still chaotic as well.
mm,
And the issue with that was that my parents, my dad and my stepmother were very argumentative, and there were a lot of moments when they would have really intense arguments, and my stepmother would like kick him out of the house
oh,
and
wow.
kick me out of the house too,
Oh, wow.
alongside him, because the whole like this is my house, get out of here kind of behavior pattern. So I think a lot of it has kind of fed into that whole thing where like I think I'm still kind of like trying to work on stability.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a lot of instability, really. It's
Yeah.
just like, where do I belong in the world?
Yeah, and how do
Having,
I'm also trying to work on, like, feeling comfort within long-term situations,
right,
because I've never really for a long time in my life, I've never really had stability
right,
to, like, feel like a long-term, like, safety.
right. Wow. So you're like relearning everything as an adult.
In many ways, yeah,
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
of course.
How did your parents' values impact you early on?
A lot of people who meet me or like meet my parents say that I'm nothing like them, which
Mm,
I find to be quite concerning. I think what happened to me though was that I saw the way they developed and
right,
I tried to just fully detract from their values.
right.
There's still, I think, certain values and values that I hold on to, but I think that I became very hyper rejectionary of like everything they stood for,
Mm,
and I think it's hard for me to identify like what exactly it is, because I think it's so far, like, away from what they were that I sometimes struggle to figure out what I am in the first place,
yeah.
because it's so rejectionary. But I think that, like, the values that were instilled into me pretty hard is work ethic, especially because I think for me, work ethic was like work and, like, working on things and doing things was a distraction from my reality around me.
Yeah.
So I was a really high performer in school and also in general in life, and I was always very busy and I was always in extracurriculars or like in like very hyper social environments,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be home and I did not want to be anywhere near my family. And so I had all these things in my life to distract me from my family issues and my family in general.
Yeah.
And I think I also became very hyper vigilant and hyper aware of my environment and my surroundings, because my family structure made it to where I had to kind of see the smaller details
Right.
to see when issues were developing and then take space from those issues.
Right. I can relate to that too. I feel the same way because my upbringing was, not exactly like yours, but I had to become hyper vigilant because of a lot of the situations that I was put in as a young kid to be able to fend for myself. You have to learn at a young age to be able to protect yourself, and that's where the
Yeah,
hyper vigilance comes
you
in.
have to create your own support system because you don't really get the support you need in your family structure.
Right, right. It's a blessing and a curse at sometimes, because it's just like it's a blessing because you could take care of yourself, but then it's just like, sometimes it debilitates who you are as a person sometimes because you can dwell on that
Yeah,
and
and
it's
your ability to receive care in the first place becomes like a really hard thing to figure out.
that part. Exactly, exactly. So, when did you first notice the pressure of appearance?
Birth.
Mm,
Like there's pictures of me because my parents were my like I think that for my family in general, like my whole family, it was such an emphasis on physical presentation, and I think it was a distraction from the general circumstances of life.
right.
And my family is from the Bay Area too, so like they have a very heavy focus. Like my dad's first car was like a box Chevy
Mm,
with big rims, and so my baby pictures are also like me in like Jordans and like the polo shirts and the
right.
khakis and church attire.
Yeah,
Especially because like like Sunday, Saturday picnic culture and the general presentation of like looking like you have your stuff together by
right.
physical presentation.
Yes.
And so I think that that was kind of a big emphasis from the beginning of birth. Like I remember I remember my mom would get so mad at me if I got braids and then
Mm,
got sand or got my hair messed up when I was like 3 or 4.
yeah.
Like I remember certain circumstances in my upbringing, like at a young age, when like I was getting yelled at for messing up my shoes or messing up my hair. To the point where now I'm like so like, yeah, very careful about things I know to this day as an adult.
Yeah, like it almost makes you like perfectionism, and
Yes.
it's just like being a perfectionist is very hard sometimes
Hmm.
on you because it's just like you can't just go with the flow and live in peace because everything has to be perfect and you keep continuing to do things over and over and over until they're perfect. But in this world, nothing is perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to at some point be comfortable with who you are and what you have and live in the moment. So do you struggle with that?
I struggled with it a long time ago, but I think as time, I think what happened to me is that I learned how to be perfect, and then once I figured out perfectionism is
Right.
like a falsehood, anyways,
Right.
like the idea of perfectionism, then I began to try to like detract from that somewhat, but that was hard
Very hard.
because the issue with detraction from perfectionism is that they're so proud of you when you figure out how to be perfect,
Right.
and then you pull back from that, and they're just like, "What are you doing?" It's just
Right.
like I'm self-expressing.
Right. Wow. Wow. Yeah. No, because it's just like so many mixed emotions and mixed signals in your life. It's just like who are you? What's your identity? Like
Yeah.
who am I?
Yeah.
I think that's what I get. So
Yeah.
did you feel like that?
Oh, for sure. I remember, like, cause I was supposed to go to school for engineering, and
Oh
then
wow.
I went to, like, one of those, like, open house things for I forgot what college it was, and I learned about, like, Parks and Recreation as, like, a
Mm,
major, for, like and I was like, "I wanna have fun. Why can't I have, like, a fun major?"
right.
And I asked my dad about it, and he's just like, "I'm not gonna pay for that bullshit." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, what can I do?" And he was like, "You're gonna do something that pays money," you know?
Wow.
I push come to shove later on, I ended up not going to college in the first place, and that was a hard one. Because
Wow.
for the first 2 years of me post high school not going to college in the first place, he was furious. And then I just began to, like, start doing my own things in my life, start, finding my own journeys and go on my own adventures and do my
Yeah.
own things, and also, like, stop relying on him financially.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was a big transitional period to, like, figure out how to support myself, especially because, like, I think I was so coddled my whole life in many ways by them
Yeah.
and, like, so caught up in, like, their perfect upper class world
Yeah.
that I had a hard time, like, getting out of that and, like, kinda, like, being in, like, a lower area in my life.
Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, so you said you went on to your to be went on to be by yourself
Mhm.
and find your way in life. So that takes you to your creative side. So
Yeah.
when did fashion first become your outlet?
Um I remember I think it was freshman year in high school. My dad showed me like we were in line for some shoes. I think it was like a pair of like Jordan 5s.
Mm,
And I didn't want them, but he wanted them and I was just like and his general behavior was like I'm going to go do this and you're going to do it with me.
mm,
And so I was with him in line and we got a pair of shoes, but both of us got one cuz he wanted to resell them. Or maybe he wanted to have a second pair. I forgot what happened. But either way, I got them and I was like these are pretty cool. And then that kinda got me into sneaker culture, especially because I realized that, I think that was kind of, freshman year in high school, realizing the power of fitting in,
yeah.
and so I wanted so badly to fit in, and that was what got me into fashion, was, like,
Wow.
trying to dress like my peers,
Yeah.
so, like, Jordans and Supreme and, like, things that, like, my peers were into that were more popularized,
Mm,
and then once I like and then later on, I think I just kinda, like, got more detracted from, like, the perfectionism and just got into, like, more, I guess, like, weird stuff.
yeah. Nice. Nice. Are you glad that you kind of veered off from the conformity of fitting in?
I am glad, but sometimes I do like, I still have, like, I guess, like, normal outfits, relatively normal outfits, and
Normal.
I sometimes wear those outfits to, like, feel more confident. Like, if I'm going to, like, a club in Sacramento, I'll dress normal because I've realized that it's kind of fun to fit in sometimes and to,
Mm,
like, dress like everyone else, especially if you can do that really well. It just feels more empowering,
yeah.
whereas, like, you put something crazy on it, even if it's, like, really cool in, like, your world, people look at you kinda weird, and it's just like, "Oh, man."
I love that though.
It
I
is fun
love it when,
sometimes. Both things are fun.
it is because I'm both. I like to experiment with different things, but some days I just like to throw on a pair of jeans with some pants and make it look cute. But
Yeah. And it's
definitely,
it's funny when you do it's funny when you do things like that and it's like a really like basic boring outfit and people are
right,
like, "Wow, that's amazing." And it's just like, this
right.
is like pretty normal.
Yeah, I know
I've
what you're
got way
talking
better
about,
stuff.
right? I've had that happen. "Oh, you look so good today," just because you're matching with your shirt with the shoes. It looks so
Yeah,
good, but no, I mean, that's true. That's definitely true because, we just really wanna fit in so bad, but, it's okay. Think outside the box
for
and
sure.
try new things.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So, how did customizing pieces shape your creativity?
Oh, I remember that was a hard one. So my first like venture into that was making tie-dye socks back in like 2012, I think it was. That was my first ever creation. And that was a really empowering thing
I love
because
tie dye.
that was back in like 2013, 2014 when like the sock sneaker culture was so prevalent.
Yeah,
So people wanted the socks match the sneakers, match
yeah,
like the whole fit. So like I was able to make tie-dye socks which like fit a different niche of like that culture. And it was really empowering because people who didn't see me in the past were like, "Oh, this guy makes tie-dye socks. I wanna buy those for my shoes or whatever." And so that kinda, like, got me into, like, I guess, like, the more, like, got me into the creative ideas.
yeah.
After that, I was doing, like, sneaker restorations, like, fixing old shoes, like, buying really old sneakers and then restoring them, or even just, like, customizing them myself as
Yeah.
well. And then time went on, and I just kind of took on more risks and more creations of things. I moved to New York in 2018, I think it was. I was there for, like, 6 months, and I
Mhm.
learned about, I just saw, like, all the high fashion stuff.
Yes.
And that's kind of when like not learned, but kind of just like saw more Louis Vuitton and like Go Yard, and that was also like Logomania era as well. So I saw a lot of that, and I was just enthralled by that, and I think like the empowerment of the logos.
Yeah.
And so I began to like buy old designer bags and cut them up and make things out of them,
Yes.
and that was kind of what got me into that. And then through that, I networked among like I guess like higher end individuals, people who like had a more of like a higher end budget, and I learned about like higher end brand and like designer and such. And then, like as time went on, the more I learned about different venues of creativity, the different kind of things I got into after that.
I love that. I love that because when I met you, you had pants on and you stitched them up
Oh
yourself.
yeah,
It
the
was
hand stitched
so
pants.
dope. That's what drawed me to you because I was like, that's awesome. Who is this guy? I was just like straight up off the runway model. That's what I felt when I met you.
Yeah, those took me like I think those took me like at least like maybe like 100 or 200 hours to make.
Really?
I
They're
I, like
so
I
do you
spent like
still
a
have them?
year making them. Yeah, no, I can't let go of those
Yeah,
things.
no, those are amazing. Yeah, no, seriously, that's why I was like, your whole style and the creativity. I'm like, please walk around like that more often. Don't try to fit in. Don't
Oh
conform.
no,
Don't
for
do
sure.
it.
No, especially like fashion shows, I like to
Yes.
wear the craziest thing
I
possible.
love it, because I like to step out of the box too, and I want crazy and I want style. It just feels
Yeah,
good.
it
Whatever
does.
looks good to you, do it.
Exactly.
Throw something on if it doesn't match, but it feels good and looks good, do it. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm like. Self-expression, with your words and with your, who you are, what you wear, how you wear your hair, whatever.
Mhm.
I love that for you. I love that for everybody,
I appreciate that.
because people need to step out of the box,
Yeah, it's
you
very
know.
healthy and it's very important to be able to like express yourself more freely.
Yes, yes, and that's part of it taps into part of your creative side and who you are.
Mhm.
We're all authentic people. So, venture into it for sure. Venture
Yeah.
into it even more, even more. So, when did fashion shift for you fitting into standing out?
I think it was New York. I was mostly living in Manhattan near Parsons, which is a fashion design school in New York near like Union Square Park,
Mm,
and it's quite close to Soho as well. And I think as I had learned more about high fashion and also like runway fashion, and I guess like more like couture and like artisanal creations,
yeah,
I had also like met a lot of like fashion students as well, who I'm still friends with to this day. From like sneaking into Parsons and hanging out with
I
them
love that.
and like being in like various creative labs at Parsons and
Yeah,
also helping people with photo shoots and such. And there's still a lot of fashion designers from Parsons to this day that I help with like creations or like help them with like things that they can't create that I help them like make so they can like, have a sample for their collections.
that's dope.
Um, but that was like a major part of it was just being around like New York high fashion and then making friends within that scene,
Yeah.
and kind of like also like walking around New York, walking around all the designer stores, but also like New York has a lot more what I would describe as like avant-garde, more like scary creative high
Yeah.
fashion,
Yeah.
because they're so far past normal stuff. They're trying to push the
I
boundaries
love it.
of things. And
Yes.
so I think from there I learned about like more, I guess, like weird brands.
Yeah, but it's like expression, more expression because it's
Yeah.
just like, don't conform. We don't want to see the same stuff over and over and
Yeah.
over. Like think outside the box and please give something weird. Give something,
Yeah.
that something it's going to turn people's eyes. And that's what I love. That's what I loved about you. That's what I love about your outfit
I
today
appreciate
too.
that. Thank you.
It's dope. I love it. So, um what pushed you to experience more boldly?
I think just like just trying it.
Just
Just
trying it.
just just it was hard. It was really hard. That transitional period of like trying out more experimental things, it took me a while to figure out how to do that in a way that felt good or felt confidence inducing. Especially because like when I came back from New York, I had came back with like a different sense of style, and trying to figure that out, well, going back to California,
Right.
and I was mostly living in like Bakersfield and like LA at that time after New York. So that was a very gauntlet run of like self-expression, because
Mm,
I brought this New York weirdness back with me,
yeah.
but I'm in California and everyone's dressing very normal, and that expression was really hard. But I
Mm.
still maintained through that because I made a lot of like online friends, and I learned about like the online expression space. And also I found niche people as well who appreciated my sense of expression.
Yeah.
And I think that I was just able to like build more confidence through that. But it was hard.
Yeah, I love it. I love it though. I love the confidence and I love it. I love it. I'm so excited for you.
I appreciate that.
So I'm gonna switch gears and move on to mental health.
Hmm.
We spoke, I listened to your story and you talked about ADHD. So how did ADHD affect your sense of belonging?
I didn't have any like real friends until maybe like middle school.
Mm,
Maybe like 7th grade, 8th grade, I think it was. I made my first friend. That was my neighbor. I made another friend who was like a block or two away from me, and I kind of like maintained those same friendships. Like even now, as well, oh, I guess I lost one of them, but like one of them I still have as a friend. Um, I really struggled hard throughout my I guess early to late teens to
yeah.
make like stable friendships, and also to have like foundational even like relationships, or like people I was dating and things of that nature. Um I didn't really understand how to operate with people, and it's very possible I might have autism too. Although I don't have a diagnosis for that
Mm,
one, but I do know that I tend to operate differently than normal people, anyways.
yeah.
And the ADHD did not help me with that either. And I remember like at a young age, kind of noticing that as well. That I can't really function like everyone else can when it comes to sitting still or paying attention or things of that nature. And so that made it hard for me to like fit in with people because I had no chill.
Yeah.
And my whole upbringing in life, the common phrasing I heard was like, "Man, you have no chill. Like
Mm.
you can't chill. Why can't you chill?" And I'm just like, I don't know how to chill.
You don't know how to chill.
No.
Do you know how to chill now though? You're in Chico. Is
I
it
know
chill? Is
how
it
to
pretty chill?
force myself to chill,
Yeah.
but I eventually I'll have to run around at some point. And so I've learned how to cope. I've learned how to sit still and be proper for a little bit, but eventually I have to like start running around.
But that's dope. Like you lean into who you are,
Oh yeah, for
That
sure.
and that's what makes you authentic. That's what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't let the boundary, of a diagnosis keep you trapped in a box.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
Yeah.
fully agree.
Yeah, that's dope. When did insecurity show up in most for you?
I don't think I've ever stopped being insecure.
Uh,
I think that insecurity is something that I've embraced and have realized that like
yes.
I will always feel insecure anyways, so I might as well just continue to feel insecure. I don't I don't I don't think there's ever a moment in my life in general where I don't feel insecure. I think that I always feel insecure. I've just learned how to cope with it.
Yeah.
So like it never really goes away. It never really like I just kind of have found various ways to just kind of not push the emotion down, but just embrace it for what it is and just kind of
Exactly.
try to just push through that.
Yes, I love that. I love how you explain that because a lot of us do. We try to push it down and we try to, get rid of it, and we just try. We think so badly about ourselves for that, but embracing it is how you're going to get through it and push through it,
Exactly.
and just showing up for yourself every day, no matter what. Even if you feel insecure, you got to go through those tough moments.
Yeah.
Those scary moments, the fear factor. You got
Yeah.
to push through it.
Yeah. I fully agree. I mean, I think my tolerance within that has changed drastically like over the years, and I know that my self-expression is crazy enough to where most people around me tell me like I could never do that or whatever thing I'm doing or wearing or however I'm acting in life in general.
Right.
Like I know that's kind of part of it, but I guess I don't really think about those things anymore either. So I guess I've transitioned, like I guess I've
Yeah.
transcended a bit, like when it comes to like things I can do,
Yeah.
but there's still there's always going to be things that make you insecure, even if you can do other things.
Well, yeah,
Anyways,
because you're gonna elevate no matter
yeah,
what. You're always gonna be in growth mode.
yeah,
So it's dope. It's dope. You just fight your fears and continue to go to
exactly,
continue to elevate.
yeah.
Yeah. So how did trying to fit in impact your mental health?
I think I had to. I think the masking, like trying to
Yeah.
like, which was exhausting for me, genuinely. I think trying to fit in has been like a continuous thing for me in general. And I think I've just kind of learned that I have to pick I have to pick my battles.
Right.
I have to make sure that I'm in spaces that I feel comfortable within and make sure I'm not like I guess like pushing myself too hard.
Yeah.
Um so I think that in it like there were times when I was young I didn't really realize like how draining it was to try to fit in.
Right.
But now that I've had time to like, I guess like navigate that, I've kind of realized that and then have acted upon that. So I think I think I still find fitting in very exhausting because I tend to overthink what I'm doing or what I'm saying to people.
Right.
And so I've tended to try to find spaces in which I don't have to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's a skill in itself to try to figure that out because we're all out here wanting to fit in and wanting to be around other people. So it's just like setting those boundaries with yourself, because that's a form of self-care. Is just
Yeah.
like I'm not going to go to this event because I don't feel like it. I don't want to have to, act or talk or think or do whatever these people are doing because it's exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
No,
don't
it
want
is
to
quite
sit here
exhausting.
around this group of people and have small talk because I'm not interested in doing that. But that's a skill that you have to learn
Yeah.
because everybody wants to fit in.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody wants to
I
fit in.
agree.
So what helped you move through self-doubt?
It's a good question actually. Um I think self-doubt and insecurity kind of come hand in hand anyways,
Mm,
and I think a lot of it is just pushing through.
right.
Um, it doesn't go away, just like insecurity doesn't really go away, and
Right.
just like any kind of like negative feeling you have when you're doing things doesn't really go away. And I think that it's just same cycle, like having to continuously realize that also, oh, I've been having this recently with a friend. I think the thing that's helped me with that is realizing that your self-doubt isn't really real.
Right.
Nobody is looking nobody's insulting yourself more than you. And nobody is attacking you more than you. And maybe there's people out there who are gonna be very like malicious towards what you do and how you exist. But they also have their own insecurities that they're doing
Right.
anyways. So they're still attacking themselves more than they attack you anyways.
Right.
And it's really important to realize, I think, for me and anyone in general, that the only way to move through self-doubt is to continue to prove yourself wrong, I
Right.
suppose.
Right. Yeah. And having self doubt too is just like those thoughts. We don't have to believe those
Yeah,
thoughts. We
exactly.
can keep telling ourselves this thing, but we don't have to believe them and push through.
Yeah,
Continue to push through and show up.
yeah,
That's my motto. It's just like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna keep showing up. Even if I have self doubt, I'm still gonna show up.
yeah,
If I have an episode, I'm gonna show up. If I gotta go here, I'm gonna show up. And that's
yeah,
that's just pushing through it, really.
yeah. Because as long as you're doing it, it's getting done in some way. It might not be getting you might not get things done in the best way ever, but like at least you're doing
Right.
something.
Right.
It's better than doing nothing.
And that's healing and dropping that perfectionism off, because before I started this podcast, I was like, it has to be perfect. I have to do this, have to just I was just like, but my higher power was telling me, just start a podcast. Just
Yeah,
start a podcast. Just show up and record a podcast. So I
yeah,
did, and then it gets better over time,
yeah. Just start talking.
slowly but surely it gets better over time. So that's yep. Forget the self-doubt. Just show up.
I agree.
So, self-discovery and growth. When did you start embracing your true style?
Ooh, I don't know. I think I struggle with that personally because like I think over time my true style has kind of transitioned itself more and more. Um, I think that I've kind of like not plateaued, but have kind of I think I've seen most of what you can see and have I guess like bought most of what you can buy as far as like not everything, but a lot of stuff. I'm running out of space in my closet.
I
Um,
love it.
no, actually, there's no space in my closet. I've been trying to sell things in my closet to make space for more things. Um, but if I sell things, I won't have all of the boxes checked of like various things.
Mm,
So I think I've been probably plateauing for the past maybe like 3 or 4 years as far as like having everything. And I think now I'm kind of just like buying, I guess, like more niche things
mm.
and am expressing myself in like I guess like more niche ways. Um, so I think and I think that it happened mostly because once I learned about high fashion and like I guess like the more weird ways of self-expression,
Yeah.
I got really into that and I got really hyper focused about that whole subject of expression
Mhm.
and I just started networking hard in all the categories of that expression and self creation. Like I'm in so many collective spaces of people who like collect high fashion
Yeah.
and now it's to the point where like anything I want, I could find it. Now, could I afford that thing? Probably not. But I could trade some things for certain things, or I know people who can offer me an item that I want at a far lower price than the market value.
Nice, nice, nice.
So I think that kind of I think now that I'm in those scenes, now I'm kind of plateauing a bit because I guess there's more weirder ways to self-express, but I also don't wanna dress like that. Like, I
Yeah,
wanna still be somewhat approachable and not
yeah.
too weird looking.
Yeah, and it's okay. A lot of people, they have the facial tattoos or the facial
Exactly.
piercings,
Yeah.
or it's that's just being you in a
Yeah.
world. You should be able to express yourself the way you want to.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
That's
no, I think that's probably the one thing I'm missing, like, I don't have any, like I have friends who have, like, split tongues or, like,
yeah,
a bunch of piercings or, like,
right.
skin implants and such, and, like, more power to them, but, like, I think I'll detract from that one and just stick to the clothes.
Yeah, no, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it either way,
Same.
either way. If that's how you feel, more power to you.
Yeah. No, it's really cool
Definitely.
seeing that kinda stuff.
It is. It definitely is. I was just watching the other day a lady. She puts on a different face every day. She's a makeup artist, and it
That's
was
so
just
cool.
dope. It was just so dope. Like, she seriously sits there, and you can, she'll go on a blind date and just have a different face
That's so
every day. It
awesome.
was amazing, and I
Yeah.
love stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's because, like she said, it's a free world. Free spirit. You could be whoever you want, whenever you
Yeah,
want.
exactly.
Who's gonna stop you? Express yourself.
Exactly, I fully agree.
Definitely. So, how did risk taking change your confidence, or did it in any way?
I think it has, I've 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 never how do I word that? I've always been like a very like entrepreneurial person my whole life. I've had various, I guess, like business ventures. There was like a good, I think like 3 or 4 year period. I was just making money off fashion design. I was just making money off of either making my own stuff or making stuff for designers for their
Mhm,
collections or
mhm,
like samples and such things of that nature. Um, and that was really hard. That was probably one of my brokest eras ever because what people don't talk about with like fashion design in general is that fashion design is not a lucrative career.
right.
Most people in fashion and within that field of work are broke. They just have things
Yeah.
or they get paid in things. And even if you're like a person who's like buying and selling high fashion, the margins are very thin and also you're dealing with a lot of risk because fashion is a very rapidly depreciating item, and if you are a
Yeah.
designer and your collection does not sell within the first couple of years, you got to put that stuff on sale,
Right.
and no one's buying that stuff. And like even like most designers, like when they release collections as well, like it goes on sale really fast usually for most designers,
Yeah.
and then their items will go on a sample sale, and they'll have private sample sales, like Balenciaga has their sample sales, and I think their stuff goes on sale for like 90% off, but they create a facade of nothing goes on sale by having private sample sales. Louis
Mm,
Vuitton, Hermes, they all do the same things. Well,
right.
Hermes just throws stuff away. And so that's kind of the thing people don't really realize is that everything goes on
Yeah.
sale and everything has to go somewhere. And
Right.
if it can't go anywhere, then you've lost a lot of money,
Yeah.
especially if you're using really intense materials. But within that same thing, um, I think it was from 2019 to 2023, I think it was 2024. And I had done design for a full time, and then the pandemic kind of dried up, and the pandemic money dried up, and we were kind of like getting into that slow economic period.
Right.
And I had begun to realize like I need to get like a real job. I need to find like a career to get into. And so my next venture was I just had like small jobs for a good like 2 or 3 years, and like just like I don't know, just like phone sales or just kind of like sales jobs,
Yeah.
very basic things just to get by. And then I got into another like venture freelance work. I was doing insurance adjusting, but
Mm.
as a like freelance catastrophe insurance adjuster. And so I traveled all over doing storms and like
Oh
going to
wow.
like deal with, complex losses and complex claims. And I still do that, and that's kind of been my venture for maybe like 4 years now, 5 years now.
Mm.
And so but like that's like freelance work. Like I work very seasonally. It's usually from January until May, and then I'm off all summer until bad things happen again.
Wow.
But there's no predictability to the weather or to things in general. And so I've kind of gotten used to overall having a life of not instability, but just kind of dealing with deep ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely different. But what does authenticity look like for you now?
I don't even know. Um,
Mm.
I think authenticity overall is just honesty.
Yeah.
And honesty is, I think, a bit of a transcendent thing because you can't really know authenticity until you get to know somebody. I think a lot of people try to create various facades of authenticity, whether it's through mental health, self expression, or any kind of general behavior. And even that can be a lie. And you could meet someone who's philanthropic, I think is the word, someone who's like really giving, someone
Mm.
who is involved in a lot of charities,
Yeah.
someone who is involved in a lot of like self help activities, or who is a public speaker, or who is in general a quote unquote good person. And they might not be a good person once you get to know them long term, because I think that's kind of what we're discovering a lot of times, with a lot of like things, even like within like our own movements in life sometimes, is that we begin to realize that people who we like idolize as like our heroes or as our like good people, they aren't.
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned in many ways is that authenticity is kind of a fluid thing. It changes because the
Yes.
rules of authenticity and the rules of like what is good behavior is constantly changing as well. And a lot of what I'm seeing is that many times in life, in order to be authentic, you kind of have to be fluid within the changes of the world and
Right.
things around you.
But yeah, because you're constantly changing.
Yeah, I mean, we're all constantly changing, and
Right.
like the rules of like what is okay are constantly changing,
Right.
and we're constantly learning like what it is to be a quote unquote good person,
Yeah.
and it's kind of becoming an ebb and flow of like what that is. So I think authenticity is really being able to be fluid within those changes, because you could be a good person in the '90s, and that might not be a good person right now.
Right, that part, I like that. I like how you explain that because it's true. It is, everything is changing, evolving.
Yeah,
As we speak, everything is changing.
yeah.
So that's dope. That's dope. So, what has your journey taught you about identity?
I think the same thing. Like identity is not consistent. Nobody stays the same, and anyone who and like anyone who does, in the sense of like anyone who like maintains the same behavior consistently over time, that behavior pattern kind of gets phased out or
Yeah,
it gets kind of old.
yeah,
I think that identity It's important to like be able to change throughout time, especially if you can realize that parts of our identities are not perfect
Right.
and there are always things internally we have to fix. And if you never change as a person, then you're not really growing
Yeah.
unless you're like amazing and you're perfect, which who
Who's the
is?
perfect person?
Yeah.
There's there
Who's
is
on
there a
their best
perfect person?
behavior all the time? Who's doing all the right things all the
Right.
time?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you could try. You can
Yeah.
try your best, but we're human. We're living a human experience, you
Yeah.
know? So life happens.
Yeah.
Somebody might cut you off and you might say F you. That's not very
No,
nice.
exactly.
You
I
know what
fully
I
agree.
mean? So that's old behavior. So
Yeah.
that's the 90 back in the 90s. Who you
Exactly.
were in the
Yeah.
90s. So yeah, no, that is true because everything is constantly evolving. And your identity has to evolve. We have to grow. We have
Yeah.
to have some sort of growth. Staying stagnant is not good.
Yeah. But it's also kind of hard because, like, I think there does there I think as we get older, it becomes more difficult to embrace change, especially because a lot of the change comes from the youth.
Right.
And the more
Yeah.
we get further from the youth, the more we become detached from their behavior and their culture, and we become just as like jaded and disassociated as our like elders as we get older because we become more detached from the actual status quo of like what is okay, you know?
Yeah. I never thought of it like that. I
Yeah.
never really thought of it like that. Hold on to your youth.
Yeah.
Hold on to as much as you can, you know, but still evolve.
I mean, like, nobody who's older is, like, popping off on people for, like, not behaving correctly like young people are.
Right.
And, like, the
Yeah.
older you get, the
Yeah.
more you're kind of exhausted by that kind of behavior anyways, and you're just like, "I wanna just chill." And
Right.
that's kind of the issue is, like, the more you wanna just chill, the more stagnant you get within your own behaviors. The more you don't wanna do things, the more you don't wanna change, the more you don't wanna grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why you got to continue, keep your youth inside of you, but at the same time continue to evolve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So what message do you have for others to take from your story?
Mm, I don't know, actually, because I don't I think it's really important for people to not listen to people. I think it's like it's important to listen, but when you listen to somebody, it's really important for you to take in their perspective and not fully apply that to your life and how you develop as a person.
Yeah.
Because if you're just living based on what other people tell you and you're listening to even your elders
Yeah.
and behaving within their patterns of behavior, you're not really melding yourself
Mm.
based on how you want to exist. And there's a balance. You have to have selfishness and selflessness, and there's no real way to strike that balance anyways
Mm.
because nobody will like you'll never get the appreciation of everybody in your life
Right.
or in the world or in your surroundings, and you have to figure out what you want to do about that and
Right.
how you want to express and how you want to exist.
Absolutely. That's good advice because a lot of people are seeking validation.
We
Like,
all want to be people pleasers. We all want to be liked and loved by everybody. We
right.
want to make everyone in our lives proud of us, but we also want to do what we want to do.
Right.
And it's so hard because doing what you want to do is not what someone else wants to do.
Right.
And not everybody, some people want to do what you want to do, but even those people don't want to do everything you want to do, anyways.
Right. Yeah. So that's yeah, you just got to be yourself. Be who you want to be. Don't listen to everybody. If you want to go out and dress like you want to dress or get tattoos on your face, do it. If that's what pleases you and makes you happy, do it.
Yeah,
Do it. You know, stop trying to conform and fit in with everybody else,
for sure.
Just be you. Just be who you want to be and it's okay. That's all
Yeah.
right, you know?
Yeah, that's hard too, though, because like, every action that distances us from the others kind of creates more difficulty within our lives.
Yeah.
The more things you do that differentiate you from the general population, the more difficulties you'll have in, I guess, like feeling welcome or feeling safe. But I think also within that, you'll still be able to like find people who like enjoy you for who you are authentically.
Yeah. Authentically. Yes, for
Exactly.
who you are, who you want, who you genuinely want to be.
Yeah.
Staying true to yourself and your beliefs,
Yeah.
for sure, definitely. Um, so how are you inspiring others to be themselves?
I think that's another one I don't really think about very often. Um, I hear it a lot. It's really funny. I think that as I think maybe like grown on social media, gotten more DMs and more conversations from people. And sometimes I'm even in public and people are just like, "Wow, like I follow you and you do all these things that inspires me to do my own things."
Yeah.
And so I think I just inspire others by existing how I exist and also like kind of like showcasing it on social media or just existing in general. I think that I just do whatever I wanna do,
Yes.
and people see that in various ways, whether it's real life or social media or just in general, and it inspires them in some way, in either directly or indirectly, to kind of realize that there's other ways to exist.
I love that. That's dope. Well, you inspired me. You
I
definitely
appreciate that.
inspired me when I seen you at that fashion show because your outfit, your everything from head to toe was dope.
I
Dope.
appreciate
And it
that.
drawed me to you. And I was just like, I need to know who this person is and I need to know about, what his craft is. And your pants, I can't wait to see them again. Those are so dope. And
Yeah,
whatever else you have in store. But thank you so much for coming on Thursday Therapies.
of
Thank you for sharing
course.
your story. You're an amazing human
Thank you.
and continue to be who you want to be and show up for yourself. And where can people find you? And do you have any upcoming shows? I know you run, model and
There's no upcoming things in general. I'm on Instagram at the.marquise.martin, the Marquise Martin. That's kind of like the main source of my socialization. There's no current events, things that I'm doing. But also if there are events in general in the area, like DM me about them because I love hearing about events in Sacramento or in the general area
I
of
love
this
that.
region in general.
Yes.
Um, but yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, until next time, check yourself, check your mental health. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and keep the conversation going on mental health.